Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, The IRA and Why It's Such a Big Deal with Mike Anderson. This is Jordan, the Marketing Coordinator here at AIM. Today's webinar will be recorded and then later posted on our website. This does mean that all attendees will be automatically muted so that we get a quality recording. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat box and we'll try to answer them throughout the presentation. But if we're unable to get to all the questions, we'll have a member of our marketing team reach out to you individually to make sure you get that answered. Before we get started, we'd like to invite you to join us for next week's webinar on Tuesday, October 22nd at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Join Regional Marketing Director Derek Lape and discover innovative strategies to enhance the quality and accessibility of long-term care, making it more competitive in today's evolving healthcare landscape. And with that, I'll hand it over to Mike so that we can go ahead and get started. Take it away, Mike.
That is what I will do. Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate all the hard work that you do behind the scenes to make these things come together. Morning, everybody. This is Mike Anderson. As I said, if you don't know who I am or you haven't been on one of my calls before, I'm the lead internal wholesaler here at American Independent Marketing. Been doing this job. I'm in my 20th year now. We are one of your key business partners in the senior market, specifically MedSup, MedAdvantage, supplemental products, those kinds of things. And I want to thank you all for making time available today. We know that this is a crazy time of year. AEP has started, and that means everybody's fixing to go full speed every minute of every day over the next 8 weeks. That's an incredibly busy time. But we felt like this was an important conversation, important topic to talk about with you because this is just the beginning of the beginning. As an agent, that I made a presentation in front of a large group a couple of weeks ago, 120-something agents, and we were talking, and one of the agents pointed out that it wasn't just the beginning; it was the beginning of the beginning because of a lot of different things that we're going to talk about here. And this IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, this is going to be a significant piece of a lot of things that you see and that you deal with. If you've been on my presentations before, you know that I am not a slide reader, okay? So you're going to see stuff on here. You're going to hear me talking around those, if you want to call it that, and about those, but I'm not actually going to read right through them here. So try to get this done in 20 to 25 minutes or so. Questions at the end. I'll be doing some follow-up calls with those of you that are here with us today and talk a little bit more about the different things that we cover. I do want you to note that this conversation isn't intended to get wrapped around politics or anything like that. Whether we like it or not, the IRA is here. It was put in place several years ago with the intention of helping financially struggling beneficiaries deal with high costs, and we'll look at some of the specifics on those high costs. Whether we like it or not, the IRA is going to have an impact on our individual and collective businesses going forward. And when I say impact, keep in mind that the numbers right now point towards about 26 million people in this country being affected in some way, shape, or form with this. So if you were listening this summer, and I know a lot of you were, one of the words you heard a lot during that time frame was disruption. And there's no question that the IRA is going to be disruptive. One of the most overlooked things in all of this tumult is it does present a chance to you. That chance is going to, depending on your activity and your action, it's going to give you a chance to bump up what we call your value proposition score. I'll talk more about that later. If you've been on other presentations I've done, you've heard me talk about COVID and how this kind of all started with COVID. It's hard to believe that one of these days we're going to look back at COVID as the proverbial good old days. But what happened is beneficiaries downstreamed a lot of elective surgeries and diagnostic work and things like that. Eventually, when they saw the doctor, many of the folks found out they had serious issues to address as a result of that delay. That compounded the claims mess to be certain. The carriers at first thought it was great, then they realized it was going to be a significant problem. By the time the carriers could get a handle on just how bad it was, the costs had far outstrip those premiums. And along the way, one of the things that was occurring quietly and over a long period of time was that Medicare beneficiaries were getting clobbered on medication costs. After seeing that happen for a number of years, the government took action in, as you can see, August of 22. It's now kicking into place kind of in high gear, if you want to call it that. And you're looking at a lot of different things, what they were intending to do as far as stabilizing costs, standard designs. And again, the key thing was this vulnerable populations piece, and you're going to see a slide here in a minute that talks about just how significant that particular impact has been. We know that some of the PDP carriers have already elected to get out. The question is how many will elect in the follow-on to this and get out as well. To give you an overview of what was going on in this space, this is a list of the most expensive drugs, the ones that cost Medicare the most, okay? And this is a typical year, and I believe this was 2022 was the year, okay? And you're going to see these drugs come up again here in a few minutes. None of it, I think, is particularly surprising, okay? You've got a diabetes medication, Novolog. You've got a nerve pain medication called Trulicity, which deals with diabetic nerve pain and neuropathy and things like that. You got a lot of things tied to cancer, and you've got some things tied to cardiovascular issues, all right? So in addition to that, so these are the ones that cost the most. These are the ones that were prescribed the most, okay? As you can see, some crossover, if you want to call it that. I don't think there's anything on here that's particularly surprising. Zithromax is the all-purpose antibiotic. You got some statin drugs, number one with a bullet right there, Lipitor, high utilization. Some of these other high blood pressure, heart failure medications and such, this is all part of it, okay? But what really fueled it were these numbers right here, okay? This is what got everybody's attention. You can see the numbers. A lot of situations where people got above $2,000 out of pocket, and this was deemed to be unacceptable, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it by the government. And in conversations that I've had with agents, I've heard folks sort of adapt a so what mentality. And, well, the system, blah, blah, blah. Well, these are the folks that wouldn't have any sort of health insurance available to them if it were not for Medicare. And when the Part D plan was put in place, no one believes that the intention was that this many people would be looking at these massive out-of-pocket costs, okay? And they took steps. So the actual impact of the IRA, you can see this here. A big one that's been talked about a bunch, arguing about who gets credit for it. Insulin costs capped at $35. Those numbers were several $100s. In a best case scenario, you're going to be in a situation where clients are going to see reductions that are significant in what they're paying. As I was mentioning before, made a presentation a couple weeks ago, right at the beginning of the month, to a large group of agents, and literally moments before I went up on the stage to talk to that group of people, I saw a post on social media, and it was a gentleman who had gone to the drugstore to pick up a prescription for his wife, and they had built into their cost model, if you want to call it that this was going to cost $188 a month for her medication. And he went in, refilled the prescription, they handed him the paperwork, and the bill was $42. And he was stunned that it had gone from $180 a month to $42 a month. And he asked the pharmacist if that was correct. And the pharmacist said, that's the new reality. And the guy said his response, one of those think or say things, he actually thought this, his response was, holy shit. And the guy said, this is the new reality. But think for a second about folks that are working to get by on something of a fixed income, or in many cases just a straight up fixed income, and now they're looking at saving $1,800 a year by virtue of this legislation. Okay, so the estimated savings on this are gigantic, but that's a one-person lesson, not somebody that I know, not somebody that any of you know in all likelihood. Okay, but these people saw that impact and extrapolate that out. That's going to be a lot of people that are going to have this opportunity, and it's good. It's absolutely good for the beneficiaries, and these are the people that the program was put together to help out. And this is all part of information that we want you to have, so that when clients are asking you why they have to change from one drug provider to another because their original provider, drug plan provider, got out of the market, we want you to be able to explain it to them. We want you to be able to talk to them about it. And I've actually got a presentation that I'm going to make available. It's a client-approved presentation. I'm going to make it available to everybody that's on the call today. So be glad you're on the call. You'll be glad that you'll have this, and it's something that you can actually present to your clients as an explainer if they want a little bit more information about this. So now, one of the big things that's going on here, and we've got a list of these top 10 what they call negotiated medications for 2026. They were chosen out of the top 50 of what is called negotiation eligible Part D drugs that have the highest Medicare Part D expenditures, and I showed you that before. Okay, and this list was actually published a little more than a year ago, so they've been around for a while. As you can see, you got medications on here that deal with diabetes, they deal with blood clots, they deal with heart failure, they deal with psoriasis. I thought that was kind of interesting. Rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, and blood cancer. All right, and this is just the tip. If you remember a couple minutes ago, I said we're at the beginning of the beginning with this. Okay, there's another 15 medications that are going to be approved for negotiation purposes for 2027. That decision will be made in about 4 months, in February of 2025, okay? And then another 15 medications will be chosen for negotiation in 2028, and another 20 drugs are going to be chosen for negotiation in 2029 and later years. And the whole idea is, rather than blowing everything up, Medicare wants to be able to gradually negotiate with the drug companies and get this under control so that both sides of the equation benefit from it. Okay, I don't think that it doesn't take a tea leaf reader to get that the service providers, if you want to call them that, on this aren't particularly happy with this. Plain and simple, they're not happy, and that's the way that it goes. But when you really step back and look at it, you had some pretty significant profiteering going on with regard to some of these medications, and the government made the decision that at least this segment of the population that uses these medications aren't going to have to deal with that. It doesn't mean that if you're buying, if you're 50 years old and you're using insulin or one of these medications here, that you're not going to pay the current higher price on it, that medication. And these negotiations are specifically for Medicare, but it's designed to keep a program that you consistently hear about the costs and such. It's designed to keep that program from struggling as we go along. So this puts into position for all of us an opportunity that we don't see very often, to be honest with you. And that's just to really be impactful for the clients. And we're going to kind of circle back around here and talk about value proposition score in a second. But these 4 things that are on these bullet points right here, these are questions that everybody wonders about. One of the big pieces, number 2 here, traditional Advantage market. If you weren't paying attention, the Medicare Advantage market, going back to 2000, it grew from about 19% of the market to 55% of the market in 3 years. Well, that tells you something, I think, about the cost that the beneficiaries were willing to bear and the need on, the believed need or perceived need of the beneficiaries for services that the traditional Medicare space didn't make available. Okay, and so there was a significant movement towards that. Basically, that made those two parts of the market equal. Whether they're going to stay that way, nobody knows for certain. There are a lot of conversations that probably going to have to be had with clients in the traditional space, one of which we anticipate, and we talked about this summer, is going from Plan G to Plan N. There are and can be some pretty significant cost savings there if the client can get through underwriting in the states that have underwriting situations. If you're in a birthday rule state, you have a pretty significant advantage there. And when you're talking about $400 or $500 per beneficiary for a couple, you're talking about, $10,000 worth of savings. It's the kind of thing that people are going to be interested in either way. And we see this PDP market presenting a big opportunity for you, but not necessarily in the way you think. And that opportunity gets us back to this idea of value proposition score, okay? Because you're looking at this going, okay, well, what does this mean? Well, you're positioned to have this measurement score. And what this is about is how your clients value the work that you do on their behalf. And we want to make certain that all of you on this call and all the other agents that we work with, thousands of them, are in a situation where when something comes up, when there is a question, or when Bob and Carol Davis, and if you've been on my calls, you've heard me talk about this a lot. That's our standard client, that when Bob and Carol see something about a new product, the first thing that they think about in their minds is, we need to talk to Fred. Fred's their agent. We got to call Fred and we got to see what his take on this is. It's that stickiness that you've heard us talk about. And simply by being able to slow down, assess, and solve problems for your clients, that's going to be significant. And the good part about value proposition score and increasing it is that it gives you the opportunity to grow the revenue in your agency without having to see the cost that you spend going forward. Okay, clients are going to have additional questions. Again, I talked a minute ago about assessing and solving. Assess opportunities that you might want to avail them of, solve problems that they've got. A lot of this is going to center around things we're familiar with: dental coverage, hospital indemnity coverage, accident coverage. If you're in a state that has it approved and makes it available, trust me when I tell you that you are going to get inquiries about short-term care. And thankfully, we've got one of the best portfolios of short-term care products that are available out there. And technology is significant in today's day and age. And we are making technology available. Integrity Marketing, which is our parent company, they're spending huge amounts of money. We were just on an all-employees call with Integrity, and they were talking about the newest, greatest thing that they've put together within the scope of their Medicare Central platform. And that's available to all of the agents on this call that are licensed with us. And it can be a significant assistance for you, and maxing out the role that plays can be a big opportunity. As noted, no matter what else happens, educating your clients is key, making sure that they are aware. On this call that we just finished up a few minutes ago, they were talking about how so many millions of people had received these annual notices of change, and a lot of them haven't opened those yet. They're just sitting there, and they may have thrown them away without opening them. So there's some part of the educational process that you're going to have to take part of. Once you've done that, and if you're properly prepared when you go into the conversation with Bob and Carol Davis, and that's part of being current on the client profile, it's going to prepare you to assess and solve for the new needs that they face, these new situations that they're having to deal with. And no question, there's going to be some, I call it adapting on the fly, that's going to take place. But given that it's so much easier to grow your business with the current clients, we know this is going to give you the opportunity to make more money out of your existing client base and to not lose money out of your existing client base. And wrapping all of this up, remember, first and foremost, the simple things matter, okay? The simple things are going to make a difference for your clients. We've got more than a dozen Medicare sup solutions. We've got all of the big national Medicare Advantage carriers and key regional Medicare Advantage carrier options available for you. We've got prescription drug options available for you. Okay, so as you are educating and assessing and solving situations for your clients, we've got the options that you need. We've got ideas, we've got guidance. We can help you and these clients put together a plan that they are comfortable with, that's going to increase your value proposition score and make certain that anytime they've got a question, they are coming to you about that. They are coming to you with that potential opportunity to help them. It'll help you. It'll make sure that at the end of the day, and this is a core piece that we talk about all the time, which is the job is to help more people all the time, every day. And that's what we want to do, is help you help more people. So I told everybody that I talked to on the messages and the reminder calls yesterday, they were going to try to keep this right to 20 minutes because everybody's busy. The hope was that you could fit it in between an 8:30 appointment that ended at 5 to 9 and a 9:30 appointment. So we've done that. We've met that 20-minute piece. I'm going to take a minute here and unmute calls. If you're not going to ask a question, I'd ask you to go ahead and self-mute so that we don't have tea kettles boiling and dogs barking and the Amazon delivery guy showing up at the door, etc. Answer any questions that y'all have. And as I said, I will be doing a round of follow-up calls afterwards here today. So any questions on any of the stuff that I covered here? The people that are on the call here today, there's a large number of you. I will be emailing out the presentation for you. You should have that here within 15 or 20 minutes. We'll get that going and then we'll start the round. We've got some other stuff here internally to deal with, but I'll start the round of follow-up calls this afternoon. All right, well, doesn't look like we got any questions. So I'll take that as a good thing. Take that as plenty of information for you to kind of soak in and think about what you're going to do with. So with that, Jordan, let's go ahead and wrap everything up. One more time, give them a quick reminder about what next week's webinar is.
Yes, that is with Derek Lape, and that is going to be on, sorry, one second. It will be discovering innovative strategies to enhance the quality and accessibility of long-term care.
All right, well, I'm sure that's going to be a good one. Long-term care, despite what you may have heard or what you may think, still a crucial piece of protecting retirement plans. Derek's going to have some good ideas for you on strategies that you can adapt. So once again, appreciate everybody making your time available. Going to go ahead and shut this thing down, give you a few minutes of your time back here, about 7 more minutes to get prepped for that 9:30 appointment that you've got coming up. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.